forgo. But it covers, as said by Honorable Finance Minister in her budget speech, it covers 99.3% companies who are having turnover less than 400 crores.
Hi,
Madam.
I'm Shubham Batra from Credential. My questions to Finance Secretary on the budget numbers, particularly how have we factored in FY20 from the RBI dividend? There's a higher allocation there. And on the recapitalization side of PSU banks, the 70,000 crore, is this via recapitalization bonds?
The Reserve Bank dividend will come after the Reserve Bank's meeting takes place.
So, but how much have we factored in FY20?
We have placed something close to about 90,000.
Okay.
And for the bond, it's as was done earlier, it's below the line. So it's part of the fiscal, it's not part of the fiscal deficit, but it's part of the debt. Same methodology, capitalization.
Ma'am, this is Mukesh Kaushik from Delhi Bhaskar. Ma'am, before coming to this ministry, you were also defense minister, and there was expectation in defense forces that there would be substantial increase in their defense budget when full-fledged budget would be presented. But you did not mention anything about defense. Is it not increased or left at the same level where it was announced in interim budget?
You have not mentioned, it doesn't mean that I have not increased. On the contrary, I have actually increased.
How much?
Only I have not mentioned it there. I'll read it for you. See, defense, there are four heads on which defense is getting money. Defense pension, the increase from the RE stage of 2018-19 to today is 1 lakh 6, I'm reading the actual amount, 10,067, am I right? No, 1 minute, 1 lakh 6,775 crores was in the RE. Now it's 1 lakh 12,080 increase. We go to the revenue, 93,000, no, wait a minute, capital outlay on defense services, 93,982 in RE stage. Now it's 1 lakh 3,394. Then go to defense on revenue, defense services on revenue, 1 lakh 88,000, 1 lakh 8,000, am I right? 1 lakh 88,118 crores was in the RE of 2018-19. Now it's 2 lakh 1,902 increase. There's one more left, which is a smaller item. Civil, Ministry of Defense Civil. That was at 16,318 crores. Only that has seen a 13,635 now, a 3,000 reduction. Because we already given some to them, that will be adjusted there. Otherwise, under every head for defense, it's an increase, substantial increase.
Okay. Madam.
So it probably helps to have a former defense minister as a finance minister.
Madam, I am here. Madam, Dr. Manas Banerjee from Northeast and Bengal. I have gone through your budget speech, but there was nothing, no mention of Northeast. What about your allocation in Northeast, please?
Just as there was no mention of defense, but it had increased. Northeast, you like to know. B 2018-19, 0.47 lakh crores. Now it is 0.59 for the Northeast region as a whole. A 25% increase, would you say?
Yes.
I'm Rishi from Bloomberg News. Could you give us some details on your overseas sovereign bond announcement? When do you plan to raise and how much are you planning to get through that?
So this is the beginning which has been made. So it's a policy announcement that we would be starting raising sovereign bonds abroad now. we have not decided on exact amounts. We will do that kind of analysis, and soon we'll come up with what kind of beginning we will make. But certainly the start will be made now on the sovereign bond.
मैं प्रशांत हूँ एबीपी न्यूज़ से। एक जो क्रिटिसिज्म जो अभी तक हम लोगों ने सुना है वो ये है कि एक कॉन्ट्रडिक्शन है कि इलेक्ट्रिक वाहनों पर आप लोगों ने छूट दिया है जो कि बहुत ज़्यादा अभी चलन में नहीं है, लेकिन पेट्रोल डीजल पर सेस लगाकर आप लोग महंगाई बढ़ेगी उससे और मध्यम वर्ग पर भी और सब पर भार पड़ेगा। दूसरा एक और भी एक चर्चा सुबह से बहुत कौतूहल का विषय बना हुआ है मैम कि आपकी लाल पोटली आज लाने का क्या ये था, क्योंकि लेदर बैग लेकर नॉर्मली लोग आते थे बजट को, उस पर कुछ बताइए।
See, first of all, हमारी एनवायरनमेंट कमिटमेंट के लिए gradually move out of fossil fuels and go towards renewable energy. Unless we give substantial incentive for renewable energy, we have to support electrical vehicles. And they are coming in. Indians are also manufacturing. So unless we encourage them in a significant way, move away from fossil fuel to electrical vehicle is never going to happen. We also think in from the point of view of employment generation, investing in sunrise sectors such as electrical batteries, solar batteries, lithium-ion batteries, there is a big scope for India. So simultaneously, as we are giving this facility and incentivizing buying of electrical vehicles, we are also giving incentive for investment in solar storage, battery capacity, and also lithium-ion and so on. So this encouragement towards renewable energy, particularly for public transport and mobility purposes, is from both sides. It's not as if we are not conscious that the production of electrical vehicles are not as many as we wanted, and we want to move towards that. So that's the logic behind it. And as regards the red color, what did you ask me? Why I have not used the leather bag? I thought it was high time that India moved out of the British hangover. So it's good enough for us to come and do something our own. And this was easy for me to carry also. Very Indian.
Ma'am, this is Anuradha Shukla from New Indian Express. Here, ma'am. My question is that, by putting some increasing tax on the high net worth individuals, how much revenue are you expecting out of, that?
Can you say something on that, please?
What we have estimated is around 12,000 crores we'll get by increasing this surcharge on the category from 2 crore to 5 crore and 5 crore and above.
Madam, on your right here. On your right, ma'am. On your left, I'm sorry. Ma'am, you have increased the disinvestment target. You mentioned in your budget speech that your government is open to, move a strategic sale in other companies. So would we understand that this would also mean that you may be open to sell your stake in profit-making companies, which hasn't been the case so far? So probably a company like NTPC and ONGC, the government stake can go below 51%?
I think I'll have the secretaries also add in here. Disinvestment secretary is here? Yeah, he should actually be talking about it. But the idea is, we've set ourselves fairly realistic goal, 1,05,000 for disinvestment. For the way in which disinvestment should happen, and with disinvestment there is also a reform agenda which gets fulfilled. And if it is necessary to push with these reforms because we do not want economy to stagnate, disinvestment is an important route. In that, of course, we did announce about the 51% shareholding, government not losing its holding, but yet if there are 2 or 3 different agencies of the government themselves holding it over and above, altogether holding it over and above 51%, we thought it should be opened up. Government still retains its ownership, but if you open it up, you're at least giving opportunity for, let us say, India, small retail purchasers of stock. You need to open up this ownership to wider Indian market, and that is why the larger principle. But then, Deepam Secretary can please.
On the profitable company side, the question that you asked, that has never been the case in disinvestment, that for the strategic disinvestment, profit-making companies will not be sold. In fact, those companies where there's already adequate competition and they are not strategic in that sense, there are already companies on the block which are being sold, which are profit-making. So profit-making or non-profit-making, that's never been the dividing line.
There has been concern about investment both in economic analysis, and you have announced certain incentives for investments. And in that you mentioned that perhaps the NBFCs would be allowed to explore new financial instruments, including this credit default swaps. Are we entering a risky region with that kind of a thing?
See, for promoting investments, several new instruments have actually been institutionalized and operationalized in the last couple of years. In which you are familiar, Madam mentioned about the amounts raised, also about 24,000 crore through these instruments. That is becoming very popular now. Many companies are using this for raising resources for their operating assets. I think about 8 to 10 companies have already done. In the real estate segment also, we had the first REIT of India only 2 or 3 months back. In the road sector, we have had TOT by NHAI. So these instruments are being sort of more and more mainstreamed. Government would also use these instruments for their brownfield assets monetization. In addition, what you referred was about the credit default swaps and all. That is the market instruments where the private sector can raise money using some of those instruments. So what signaled was the government's openness and intent to examine all these instruments for allowing the private sector to raise money.
जी मंत्री जी यहाँ मेरा आपसे सवाल है, मैं एसएम आसिफ इन दिनों उर्दू डेली से हूँ। आपने कहा है कि 5 वर्षों में 1.54 करोड़ ग्रामीण आवास का निर्माण आपने पूरा कर दिया है। अब आप जो है 2019 और 22 में 1.95 करोड़ आवास बनाने जा रहे हैं, इस पर कितनी लागत आएगी?
80 or 90,000 crore. Muruji, you have the number? I think it's about 90,000 crore, which has been mentioned there. 90,000. 90,000.
Chandrasekhar from ANI. In the economic survey yesterday, the outlook speaks of challenges on 5 fronts, including on because of the slowing down, fears of slowing down of the economy, and revenue collections may be less. But the budget doesn't talk about any of these factors. Why is it? And are you taking into account these factors before when you talk of attaining $5 trillion in 5 years and things like that?
In the budget, the main focus has been on trying to set out a blueprint for achieving that 5 trillion, especially the investment side, and allowing some of the foreign capital to come in, together with startups. There's been a bunch of measures that have been taken for startups, also for encouraging domestic investment, NBFCs that ma'am talked about. So the budget really has focused on trying to ensure that that vision of $5 trillion is achieved by, getting into that virtuous cycle that the economic survey talked about with investment as the driver. That is the intent, right?
1 minute. Nothing has been said about what? No, I'm sorry. The budget would not tell about a particular sector where we have addressed it from various different sectors' point of view. We've not named each sector. But I did tell you that the approach is to see how in urban life, what are the kinds which are going to make it easy for living and for promotion of those? As I'm saying that, I'm also talking about bank recapitalization. I'm also talking about NBFCs. Obviously, all of them are going to be looking at their clients who emerge out of cities and rural areas. So isn't that addressing that issue? So I didn't answer it in that kind of a way, but I've indicated the kind of things that I can do through the rural, urban, youth, women and so on.
Ma'am, this is Aishwarya. Ma'am, this is Sapna Das from CNBC TV 18. Ma'am, a quick question. First of all, many congratulations on your first budget. It has a lot of announcements. Very quickly, ma'am, a further clarification required on the policy of bringing government shareholding below 51%. I suppose that's a very, very important initiative going forward. The clarification that we need is that does it apply to financial institutions also, or in the sense that banks will be kept out of that space? First off. Second, also, ma'am, you're very clearly stuck to the fiscal consolidation roadmap. In fact, the current financial has seen a 10 basis points cut in your FD number. What gives you this confidence? Because on the revenue side, you have gone ahead and increased the petroleum duties. But first, ma'am, on 51%.
It's very clearly mentioned in the budget speech by the madam that this present proposal is for the non-financial public sector undertakings as of now.
It talks about realignment of government shareholding including banks to create space for investment. So does that mean that you will at least bring it down to around 51%?
It says about the non-financial public sector undertakings.
So the paragraph 98 talks about bringing it to 51 or below. The next one is realigning the share, which it doesn't say we're going below the 51% limit. So there's a difference between the two. It should be seen.
But very clearly, nothing on the banks. Let there be no misunderstanding. The banks are not contemplated to be brought below 51. It's only for the non-financial entities. I think I answered it earlier, fiscal consolidation. I gave you all the numbers also on the revenue side and expenditure. I don't think anything needs to be added on that.
Okay.
Ma'am, this is Aishwarya Paliwal here from India Today. Ma'am, there is no change in the tax slab. Why so?
When was the last tax slab announcement made?
2014.
4 months ago.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Ashutosh Kumar from BTVI News Channel. First of all, many congratulations for your budget. Ma'am, the one thing that we need to understand is that all the decisions made on the indirect tax front, how much they translate into in terms of revenue. And secondly, the wider sense that we get from the budget is that budget has scouted for a lot of resources from all directions. In this particular context, can we really say that the government may not be feeling that confident about getting some quantum of amount from capital reserve of the RBI? Could that mean, can we safely conclude that?
I don't know where you're reading that we are not confident. I'd like to know actually, because this budget, I think, has clearly spoken from a position of strength. A position of strength which is derived from the mandate received. A position of strength which is very clearly showing that in spite of all the narrative that you may post before me, India is still the fastest growing economy. And therefore, we have come up with proposals with which we are confident that even as we are maintaining a certain level of fiscal discipline, we are moving fast towards growing. So you were talking about indirect taxation. You asked about revenue generation under indirect taxation. Do you want to just hear this out? What is the corresponding figure?